Welcome to the Think Forward podcast, where we speak with futurists, innovators, and big thinkers. Come along with your host, Steve Fisher, and explore the future together.
Welcome back to Foundations in Foresight, a Think Forward series. I'm Steve Fisher, and today we're picking up where we left off, talking about Social Quake, the massive upheaval in trust, institutions, and social structures that's reshaping the world as we know it. Last time, we explored why trust in governments, corporations, and traditional institutions is collapsing. We talked about how people are moving away from centralized systems and creating new, decentralized networks, whether through digital communities, blockchain governance, or peer-to-peer economies. Social Quake isn't just a moment of instability, it's a fundamental shift in how humans organize, how power is distributed, and how trust is built. Now comes the big question. How do we navigate this transformation? If we can't rely on the old models of stability, how do we build new forms of trust, collaboration, and resilience? What can businesses do to stay relevant in a world where people no longer trust traditional corporate messaging? How do communities create real connections in an era of digital tribalism? And as individuals, how do we position ourselves for success when the old career paths and social systems aren't holding up the way they used to? That's exactly what we're diving into today. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clearer sense of how to operate, lead, and thrive in a world where social structures are shifting faster than ever. Let's get into it. So, let's start with businesses. Because if you're running a company, leading a team, or building a brand, the way you build trust and loyalty has completely changed. There was a time when businesses could operate behind closed doors, making decisions privately and communicating them to the public through carefully crafted press releases. That era is over. People don't trust corporate messaging the way they used to. They don't just want to know what a company sells, they want to know who's behind it, what values it stands for, and how it actually operates. The businesses that are thriving in this new landscape are radically transparent. They're not just broadcasting polished marketing messages, they're actively engaging in conversations with customers, employees, and the broader community. They're showing their work, admitting when they make mistakes, and making people feel like they're part of something bigger than just a transaction. Look at how companies like Patagonia are thriving, not just because they sell good products, but because they align their business with their values in a way that feels authentic. When they take a stand on environmental issues, it's not a PR stunt. It's baked into everything they do. Contrast that with companies that slap a sustainability label on their product without actually changing their operations. Consumers see right through it. Trust today isn't about what you say, it's about what you do and how open you are about it. Businesses that embrace this new reality are the ones that will build strong, loyal communities. The ones that try to operate like it's still 1999, hiding behind corporate messaging, making decisions in secrecy, are going to struggle. And this shift isn't just external. Inside organizations, the same thing is happening. Employees don't want to work for companies that feel faceless and bureaucratic. They want to feel heard, valued, and involved. That means leaders need to create cultures of transparency, collaboration, and shared purpose. The companies that will attract and retain top talent aren't necessarily the ones offering the highest salaries. They're the ones where employees feel like they're part of something meaningful. Now, let's talk about communities. Because Social Quake isn't just shaking up businesses, it's fundamentally changing how people connect and organize. For a long time, communities were geographically defined. Your network was based on where you lived, your neighbors, your local church, your town hall meetings. But with digital transformation, community is no longer just about physical location. People are forming hyper-specific digital tribes based on shared interests, values, or even shared grievances. Some of these new digital communities are powerful forces for good. Open source projects, online education networks, global collaboration on everything from science to activism. Others can be more divisive, pulling people into echo chambers, reinforcing extreme views, and making it harder to find common ground. The challenge in this new landscape is how do we build strong, resilient communities that bring people together instead of driving them apart? One key is intentionality. The best communities, whether digital or physical, don't just happen by accident. They're designed with shared purpose, clear norms, and strong leadership. Communities that thrive in this new world are the ones that prioritize connection, inclusivity, and constructive dialogue, whether that's an online forum, a co-working space, or a movement working toward a shared goal. We're seeing this play out in real time. Look at decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs. These are internet-native communities where people work together, make collective decisions, and even govern themselves through blockchain-based smart contracts. They're experimenting with new forms of collaboration that bypass traditional corporate structures. Some will succeed, some will fail, but the idea is powerful. People are figuring out how to build new forms of governance and cooperation that don't rely on centralized institutions. And this matters beyond just tech or crypto spaces. Communities that can adapt to this new model, whether it's cities rethinking local governance, companies restructuring how employees collaborate, or education systems shifting toward peer-to-peer learning, will be the ones that thrive. The ones that try to force old structures onto a new world will find themselves out of step with reality. And finally, what does all of this mean for you, personally? If traditional career paths, social structures, and trust models are shifting, then the way you build credibility, create value, and navigate uncertainty has to shift too. One of the biggest changes we're seeing is that personal trust is becoming more important than institutional trust. People trust individuals more than they trust brands, governments, or media outlets. That means your personal network, your online reputation, and your ability to demonstrate expertise and authenticity are more valuable than ever. Think about it. If you're a freelancer or entrepreneur, people aren't just looking at your resume, they're looking at your online presence, your body of work, your ability to engage in meaningful conversations in your field. If you're in a corporate job, internal reputation is becoming more important than job titles. How you collaborate, how you build relationships, and how you show up in digital and in-person spaces defines your career trajectory more than a degree or a title. The most important skill in this era of Social Quake? Adaptability. The people who thrive in this new landscape aren't the ones clinging to old models, waiting for things to settle down. They're the ones leaning into change, experimenting, and building strong, trust-based networks. They're the ones who are actively shaping the new world, rather than waiting for someone else to do it. So, where do we go from here? Social Quake is reshaping the foundations of trust, community, and institutions. The world that's emerging is more decentralized, more peer-driven, and more uncertain. The businesses that succeed will be the ones that embrace transparency, build authentic relationships, and foster real communities. The individuals who thrive will be the ones who develop credibility in new ways, stay adaptable, and build strong networks of trust. So here's your challenge. Look at how you engage with trust and community in your own life. Are you still relying on old structures that are losing credibility? Or are you actively building new, resilient networks that reflect where the world is heading? The ones who succeed in this next era won't be those waiting for stability. They'll be the ones creating it themselves. In our next episode, we're diving into how leadership is changing in this decentralized world, how the best leaders today aren't commanding from the top down, but guiding and collaborating in new, network-driven ways. Until then, keep exploring, questioning, and as always, think forward.
Thanks for listening to the Think Forward podcast. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms and at www.thinkforwardshow.com, as well as on YouTube under Think Forward Show. See you next time.